This is a Sports Radio Live podcast covering your world of sports. Bryan Houston's Sports Radio Live. It's weekdays at 3 on 99.3 Talk FM, the talk of East Texas.
Now on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com. From Fox Sports Southwest, it's Emily Jones. How you doing, Emily?
Hey, doing good. How are you today?
Doing very well, thank you, and thanks for coming on with us. Hope you had a great Easter weekend. I want to ask you a little bit. I'm sure you're going to be at the ballpark tonight for some little minor happening. Yu Darvish making his debut. What are you expecting tonight?
Well, I think we're all interested to see what we get. I mean, Yu Darvish has shown that he can handle his rock star status pretty well over in Japan, and then since it's translated here to the States. So I'm anxious to see how he handles what he's walking into and the situation that he's coming into here in Texas. So I think the crowd will be really, really supportive and behind him. I think also too they'll be forgiving if he's not perfect the first time out. And I think people are just really excited to see what he can do because they've heard so much about him.
I know it was chaotic when he first showed up, but has it died down at all, or is it still chaotic every time he's around?
Yeah, not really. In the clubhouse, it's really not any different. There's obviously more of a Japanese media presence, but everyone kind of just lets him keep to himself. They kind of leave him be. But at the same time, I treat him the same way I treat all the other guys in the clubhouse. And there's obviously a language barrier there, but I learn a few phrases here and there, and sometimes test them out on him and see his reaction and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. But he really is fitting in, quite nicely. And, there is definitely that, huge Japanese media presence there. But I think that will even, temper after this first start, happens today. And it really has become just part of the landscape around there. And it's something that we've gotten used to in spring training and now in Arlington, just through the first series of the season. And I think that it's going to become even more, just commonplace from here on out. And, it seems like no one's really affected by it.
Are you surprised the game's not a sellout?
Because it's a Monday and the, second series of the season, after the opening weekend has passed and kind of the hoopla dies down, I am a little surprised that it's not a sellout, but I have a feeling if the weather holds up, it will end up being a sellout. I think the walk-up will be huge, and especially if the weather stays away. And it's cloudy skies right here right now, but I think if the weather holds up and stays nice, it'll end up being a sellout.
Now, you had the one-on-one interview with Yu Darvish a few weeks ago. Kind of tell me what your impressions of him are.
He definitely has an air about him, and the last guy I covered that I felt had that was when Cliff Lee came in 2 years ago. That he just had not that he was arrogant or anything like that, but it was almost like you didn't want to overdo it with him. You didn't want to bother him too much, and I don't know why that is. It's something that's really hard to explain for me, but I felt the same way as Cliff, and I feel the same way about you, where you just don't want to wear him out, so to speak. He's got a great sense of himself. He's extremely confident, but he's also very self-deprecating. He really wants nothing more than to fit in with those guys in the clubhouse, and he's done a remarkable job of doing that. And the way that he's handled the situation that he's in and his teammates seeing that has really, really impressed them. Not being arrogant, not being a prima donna, not having to have special things set up for him. He really does just want to be one of the guys.
So basically he's the anti-Lamar Odom.
Oh, goodness. That thing, what a failed experiment. And you know what? Kudos to Mark Cuban for paying. Oops, it looks like that's what Henry, little young Henry Jones McCoy has to say about Lamar Odom. He's not happy about the lack of performance from Mr. Odom. But Mark Cuban making an effort to do something in this lockout shortened season, and despite not signing Tyson Chandler and J.J. Barea and, basically breaking that championship team up. he wanted to do something to try to give this team a chance. And when they signed Lamar Odom, I thought it was a genius move. Sixth man of the year that can basically play every position on the floor. And, I mean, he just completely and totally underperformed. And it's a shame, and it's embarrassing for him. It's embarrassing, for NBA players in general. I mean, to be commanding that much money and to underperforming, give no effort. I mean, it's not. People are very forgiving, and if he would have given any effort whatsoever, I think people would be a lot more forgiving. But he just didn't appear to ever be interested in playing here.
Did you ever notice any kind of animosity from his teammates in Dallas?
I can't even tell you how patient that group was. I mean, asked questions over and over and over again. And Rick Carlisle doing everything in his power, doing everything that he could to try to make something work for him, and just nothing. Same way with his teammates, stood by him when, it's got to be frustrating for them to think, I mean, what's going on here? Here we are, busting our hump, and this guy's given nothing, and we've got to sit here and answer questions about him and make excuses for him. And that group, it's like, to steal a line from Ron Washington about the Rangers, he said, if you don't fit in this clubhouse, that's on you. I mean, that's your fault. And I feel the same way about that Mavericks locker room. I mean, that is the easiest group of guys to get along with. They look out for each other, and they had his back for so long, and he just gave them nothing. I mean, and it's really sad. And it's unfortunate for him because Lamar's a good player, and he's been a good player throughout his career. And a lot of people are going to remember him for this, this season in Dallas.
I mean, if you were an NBA administrator of any kind, would you even take a chance on a guy when he's performed so unprofessionally?
No, unless you're the Lakers. And it almost seems that that's it. I mean, like, he just got his feelings hurt. He got his feelings hurt because his team that he loved so much did not think the same way of him and were willing to move him, not only to Dallas, but first to New Orleans, and then that fell through. And then they moved him to Dallas, which, according to, a lot of people, he wanted out and because he got his feelings hurt. And it's like the jilted, lover that says, oh, you don't want me, well, I don't want you either. And then they say, okay, we'll part ways. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, let me reconsider. And so it just seemed like, he can't, if you're the Lakers, I think you sign him tomorrow, which obviously they can't. But I just think that he couldn't get over the fact that the Lakers did not want him, and he didn't want to play for anyone else, and that's the bottom line.
Drama queen.
No, it's unfortunate. And listen, I know people have problems. We all do, and everyone does. And I there's no right or wrong way to handle those situations, but to constantly try to use those as, excuses for your lack of performance is, it's unfortunate that he went that route. And I understand it for shortened periods of time, but, life is full of ups and downs, and you got to find ways to move on. And so, I'm sure everyone here wishes him nothing but the best, but it was a total and complete failed experiment here.
It was one of the biggest busts in Mavericks history. And it had to be bad for Mark Cuban to pull the trigger on this today the way he did. It had to be bad.
Well, I mean, they just done all they could do. And the players were just tired of answering questions about him, and so was Carlisle. And, I just heard an interview with him on the radio here, and he's saying, coach is always right, like in a very smug way. I mean, I don't know and listen, I don't agree with everything Rick Carlisle does. I'm sure nobody does, but I don't know what else Rick Carlisle could have done as a coach to put him in a better situation. I mean, they hung with him way longer than they needed to.
Oh, absolutely.
To try and give the guy a chance. So, it's unfortunate, but, it was time to move on, and maybe this will give the Mavericks a sense of relief, and maybe they'll go out and play well, these last 9 or so games of the season.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you. I mean, this team's in trouble right now. I'm not convinced that they're going to make the playoffs. Am I off on this at all, or what do you think?
No, and this is it's a team that can't seem to find its way, and you can't blame Lamar Odom for everything. He did suck the life out of that thing faster than, anything I've ever seen, but, it's not all on him. The bottom line is he's not on the floor a lot of the time. So they have not been healthy at all. I mean, they've had some tough breaks, especially with their backcourt guys. And, Jason Kidd being out is a huge a huge thing for this team. So I just don't think they know who they are. They still haven't figured themselves out, and we're 50 some odd games into this 66 game season. So they better figure it out quick. The good news is it's a veteran bunch. They know they've got some talent, and if they can get hot in the next couple weeks, they've got a chance to do some damage. But it's an uphill battle at this point.
Well, in the meantime, enjoy the game tonight. It ought to be a lot of fun watching Yu Darvish finally go out on the mound, and we can focus on something fun tonight as opposed to all that drama going on over at AA.
Yes, I completely agree. Looking forward to a fun night at the ballpark. Hopefully the weather cooperates at this point.
It wouldn't dare rain tonight, don't you think?
I hope not. I hope you're right.
Well, Emily, thank you very much. I know Henry is, commanding attention right now. So
yeah, and he let everyone know what he thought about Lamar Odom, I guess.
I like him. I think he's got a future in sports.
I would imagine so.
All right, Emily, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Okay, Emily Jones, Fox Sports Southwest on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM.
This is a Sports Radio Live podcast covering your world of sports. Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live. It's weekdays at 3 on 99.3 Talk FM, the talk of East Texas.